1975, a modern day miracle took place in America. And few people have appreciated or even know about it. In 1975, in a community called the World Community of Islam in the West, headed by a man at that time called Wallace Muhammad. And remind me to mention this same Wallace Muhammad is mentioned in this book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. Remind me before I leave to mention that, okay? So I'm going to put this up here. This is the Autobiography of Malcolm X. It's right, put it right there, okay? And Wallace Muhammad. So you remind me? Okay? Okay. A miracle in 1975. And what was that? In the community called the World Community of Islam in the West, headed by Wallace Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, the head of the Nation of Islam, allowed white people to join what was then called before the Nation of Islam. A miracle. Why? Because if anyone understood the theology of the Nation of Islam, this is the group Malcolm X was a part of. This is the group that Malcolm made famous for 12 years as a minister of the Nation of Islam. The theology of the Nation of Islam, listen to me real good. Now, before I say what I'm going to say, anyone here have a weak heart? You might want to excuse yourself. Everybody all right? You want to leave? You be okay? I want to make a disclaimer. I have nothing to do. I'm not responsible. Okay. In the Nation of Islam, part of the theology was, officer, what I'm about to say is history. I don't believe this no more, okay? I don't want no problems with you, me and you were okay. All right? In the Nation of Islam, we used to preach that all white people were devils. Did you hear that? Have you heard it? You knew that? All right, okay. Guess what? Some of them are. But we got some black devils too. And brown and yellow, male and female. But why was that a modern day miracle? Because in the Nation of Islam, theology was what some people called racist. And we were taught that the black man were gods and that white people were devils. When Elijah Muhammad died in 1975, his son took over. And remind me, before we leave, to tell you about the true impact of the miracle of 1975. Just remind me. Okay.
The question to Elijah Muhammad is, how would you describe your mission? His answer is, my mission is to give life to the dead. What I teach brings them out of death and into life. My mission as the messenger is to bring the truth to the world before the world is destroyed. There will be no other messenger. I am the last, and after me will come God himself. I do not say that I will live so long as that, but when God comes, if it pleases him, I may be with him. However, if I am not with him, this is the final. This truth I bring will give you knowledge of yourself and of God. Another question. Mr. Muhammad, how would you make statements about Dr. Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement? The answer is yes, I think Reverend King has been doing a good job according to his knowledge. He has been trying to do his best to give our people some justice in the way of civil rights. I believe that he means well, and I believe he would have done better if he had known more about the time and the people and the history and what must be done in such times. He has the desire to see his people dealt with according to justice and not according to injustice. But he does not know that he is living in the time when justice is bound to come to his people. However, it is only through divine and not through civil movement. And and that goes for most of the groups who are trying to do something for the people of for the betterment of our people. They must most of the leaders have good intentions, but they do not have the right instruments to work with. And they do not know how to use the instruments since they were not appointed to do the job. But all of our people today have the desire to do something for themselves. And first of all, to see justice removed from the whole. What the civil rights movement is trying to do is just another effort to bring home to our people a better life. But this is the time when our people should, and will get a better life on a permanent scale, not on a temporary scale. The political administration may change every 4 years. The Constitution gives the people of America. And if we understand it well, it was not written with the so-called Negro in mind. It was written for the whole citizens of America and not the slaves. The slave is not mentioned there and was not in the mind of those lawmakers that he should share equal justice with the matter. No, he was considered to be the property of the master. Therefore, the servant or the slave cannot get equal justice with the master unless the master wants to give up his position as master. If the master gives up his position as master, the slave would soon become his equal, and the slave would probably vote for equal justice, go to the White House, or become the ruler of the country if the equal justice were obtained all the way through as it should be. But the Constitution was written by white people for white people and not for you and me. We were under the slave masters at the time. And again, I would like to make clear, I am not fighting for those leaders who are trying to do something good for our people or get something better for them. But I do oppose them in their way of opposing which is good and which should be just and permanent for our people. For we now have come to the time when we want justice and equality. We want freedom with other people. They have never made us citizens, and under their law, we cannot be made citizens. We can never be citizens as stated in their very slave constitutions or their very slave courts. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Welcome back to On the Shows of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and finishing up the last chapter of our reading and reviewing of Elijah Muhammad's message to the black man in America. This last chapter is Answer to Critics, My Mission in Life. The following is an excerpt from an interview granted to the National Education Television Network. The series of interviews took place in Phoenix, Arizona, and were conducted over a period of several days by the staff of San Francisco station KQED. So basically, this last chapter is responses to statements and answers to questions and interviews that Elijah Muhammad, like I just read, that he sat in, and letters that he wrote that were rebuttals to different people for statements that they have made about himself or the Nation of Islam, answering his critics, giving his point of view, giving his statement about what he believes he is doing because he believes he is on the right path according to his view and his beliefs in Islam, as told to him by Wallace Fard Muhammad, because he views himself as the messenger. So he believes that he is giving black people a better blueprint, a better plan than what we have been given over the years, especially given from people who follow under the banner of Christianity. He believes Islam is the religion of black people. There are others who believe Christianity is the religion of black people. There are some who believe that Judaism is the religion of black people. You know, there are various thoughts and various views out there on what the religion of black people is. But Elijah Muhammad specifically is saying Islam is that religion. And even going back into what the gentleman was saying in the video, the idea of black people being gods and white people being devils. Elijah Muhammad has stated that many times that he does believe that white people were devils. The white people are devils. Elijah Muhammad believes that white people were grafted thick over 6,000 years ago by Yaqub, by the big-headed scientist Yaqub, and white people were grafted and intentionally created to be evil. And after 6,000 years, the reign of white supremacy will be over, and the reign of justice will be for the black people, the original people of the earth. That's what he believes. So basically, this last chapter is Elijah Muhammad standing on what he believes, whether you agree with him or not. I can't be mad at somebody for stating what they believe and not turning back on it. I respect that. I may not agree with what they're saying, but I respect that they stand on what they believe and they're not turning back on what they believe because somebody else said so, or somebody else doesn't believe them, or they're not getting the right traction or the right attention, or they're getting negative attention for their thoughts, beliefs, and statements. But Elijah Muhammad says, this is what I believe, and I'm standing on it. So picking up back on page 310, Elijah Muhammad answering more questions. So the question, Mr. Muhammad, even though the economic plan was only introduced in August of this year of 1964, what has been the response? The answer is, we are really surprised at the response we have received. In fact, it is increasing daily, and we have to set up more secretaries to take care of the documentations that are coming. Another question, is this coming from all over the country? Answer, yes, sir, from everywhere. For 3 years, we want to see what we can do. We're going to put the donations in banks and have already been established, and banks that have already been established. What we are going to build, we are not going to build one until we have need to do so. By the end of 3 years, we can tell what we can do. The cost perhaps $1 million or more to set up a bank, and the government has much to say about how this is done. Those who understand banking systems will be called by us to help by such a system for our people. Another question is, are any of your aims perhaps similar to the middle class aims of acquisition of properties and material goods? Do you think the objectives of this plan are similar to those of the middle class, of the white middle class? And Elijah Muhammad's answer is, what are the white middle class aims? Will you tell me that? The question is, ordinarily, I would say it is the acquisition of property of material things. Now, do you think in the savings plan idea, there will be a number of Negroes who will submit monies to save for those particular white middle class idea, which seems to be unimportant at the moment? Elijah Muhammad's answer is, well, the purpose of the economic plan is to fight poverty and want, as I have said. This includes material things. We need better housing, for instance. We all need farms to grow our own food. So that was another line of questioning that Elijah Muhammad was giving about his economic plan by the interviewer. And you see the interviewer attempting to put Elijah Muhammad's economic plan, some of the aspects of the economic plan, in the same lane as the ideologies of the white middle class and what they like to attain and what they want to attain as far as economically being able to buy things and have things and say, this is what I have. And, Elijah Muhammad reminded him, well, now we were fighting poverty and we're building something for ourselves. And yes, a part of that is the acquisition of homes. Well, we're not trying to get no middle class lifestyle. We just want what's best for us. So he had to let him know, hey man, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to trick me up, but I see what you're trying to do. I'm on top of this. Don't try me like I'm a Ricky or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's interesting him being questioned about the economic plan and him being questioned about the moves that he's making for Black America by groups of people who don't even care 2 cents about how we better ourselves, or even if we have the opportunities or the resources to better ourselves. But everybody want to question it. So that right there is something to raise the eyebrows. Elijah Muhammad was seen by white America as, well, he wasn't seen in a favorable light by white America during this time. And he still isn't seen in a favorable light by white America now. So Page 315 is the clarification and confusing surrounding Muslims. So in order to excuse me, in order to clarify some of the confusion surrounding the Muslim outlooks and objectives, I will confront the rumors and false allegations of Muslims' threats of violence with a direct statement which answers the implied questions. Will the Black Muslims attack America in a direct and forthright manner? These are some statements I have given in an interview to the New York Herald Tribune newspaper. And this is on hate and violence. We're not going to take part in any violence whatsoever. We're not going to do anything other than what we are doing. That is trying to deliver the truth to our people and teach them that they are supposed to be Muslims, and that means they are supposed to be righteous people, and that we have shed all things that pertain to wickedness. We have stripped ourselves of arms to let you know that we are not people of violence. We don't intend to attack you. We have no idea of knowledge of anything like that coming in the future. Because if we attacked you, we would have to be superior. We would have to have superior weapons to attack you with. We don't have the factories nor earth to dig materials to manufacture tools or weapons such as you have. All this is your creation, and therefore, if you would get some of this, you would have to let us have it. And you would not give me a gun to shoot you with. Therefore, God forbid us to attempt to accept weapons and even carry anything like weapons to fight with. Because to fight with him, and you are not with us. So that's Elijah Muhammad giving this answer on them being seen, the Nation of Islam as being seen violent. As far as I know, I don't have any recollection or information about the Nation of Islam enacting any violence upon members of white societies.